Hi and welcome. I keep forgetting that I have a switcher, a very fancy one, where I can switch cameras. So let's switch cameras in a little bit. Let's see who's in the chat. Hi, Ariana, Kelly, Libby, and Linda. I keep thinking maybe I should do like an intro because there are always people watching that aren't necessarily engaging in the chat, which is fine, by the way. You can totally just watch. But in case you're new here, if you want to join in the chat, you can subscribe, and I think you have to wait like a minute or something, and then you can chat along with everyone and me. These live streams are about me learning things and running into things, struggling with things, trying to fix things, in the company of art friends who keep me sane and motivated. When I grow up, I would like to be an artist, so we're here to work. Today we're going to block in a portrait. You can find the link to both the reference photo and my live stream page with the edited kind of simplified drawing there. And my goal in 1 hour is going to be kind to myself, and if I can get some lines down, and maybe I'm very quick and don't make a lot of mistakes today, but maybe we can cover with some raw umber or something. But this is mainly going to be, I have my palette here, probably not going to use it, so this is mainly a drawing thing. I'm always a little bit nervous when I do these things because they're technical and I'm not very confident in that. And before we switch to my my board, my workspace, I want to say one thing about this that I was thinking about this afternoon and have been for a while. If you're a thinker, like I'm a thinker, I like to think. Doing art confronted me, and I think some of you as well, with the fact that it doesn't really matter how good you can understand things. If you don't put in the hours and the practice consistently, there is very little progress, or very slow progress. So in my case, it's very slow. And I always got away with thinking. And the whole school system that we're in is like 90% based on how good you can think and process information, and very little about skill building. And when it comes to skill building, like actually doing things, I am very lazy. I get very frustrated. I get temper tantrums in my head. This is not, I'm a little bit embarrassed about that. So my progress at some point just stopped because I wasn't making an effort. So this is, for me, something that I struggle with. We're gonna do it today. We're gonna be nice to each other. You're gonna be nice to me, right? I'm gonna be hard on myself. Right, let's... Does it work? I don't have a preview of my... Oh, look at that, it works. Let's see if I have the right reference photo. Let me just check the light. We're gonna draw here, and when I have the outer boundaries down, I will zoom the camera in a little bit to give you some more detail. Now, I have a pencil. This is a Faber-Castell TK 9400 refill. You can, you know, it has a little lead that goes into it. You can grab charcoal, anything you want. I have the reference photo on my left on my laptop, which is not ideal, but we're gonna try and make it work. Let me check the chat before we end this. I'm not nervous at all. Let's see. Still trying to find a switcher. Yeah, we can talk about that if you want in private sometime. Hi, Elizabeth. Want to be an artist? Yes, right? I mean, when we grow up, we're gonna be famous artists. It is a rude, confronting fact as is ourselves. Yes, yes, ma'am, it is. All right. I have this pencil, and the way that I measure is the way that any artist on YouTube is going to teach you this, is with a stretched arm. You can't see my stretched arm, but you kind of get the gist. And then take the top here and then move your thumb up and down, right? And what I like to do is something that I learned from another artist. Is what I like to start with is the outer boundaries. They call it the envelope shape. Is if you look at my head here, it's literally anything that is me and attached to me is part of the shape, and everything that isn't is part of the negative space. And that line is called the envelope shape. And if you put a rectangle over that shape, what you're doing is you're making the negative space smaller, and when you make it smaller, the shapes become easier to handle, right? So what I'm gonna do is her face is, let me see if I can fix it, yeah, like this, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this point here, the top of the cheek, which is the furthest point out of this portrait, and I'm gonna take this here. Now that's gonna determine the maximum width of this face, right? So if you want to draw along with me, you can go ahead and do that. That allows you to position with relative ease, like this. Now, normally I put it down quite light, but I'm a little bit concerned that my camera may not be picking this up. There we go. Now the top and the bottom, you can go all the way up to the hair, or you can do the forehead and then do the hair. I'm gonna do the hair. Yeah, so again, from here, she has a bit more volume in her hair, but from here to the bottom of the chin, yeah. You can close your one eye, otherwise it's not possible because you're gonna see two pencils. And I'm gonna see, this is usually the middle, right? So maybe we can try and get a little bit of precision here. One of the things that I had to learn and it's also the reason why I'm such a fan of the internet when it's doing good things, is I always thought that erasing was a sign of doing something wrong. And then I saw Stephen Bauman, who does this kind of stuff, but then like 10 Mario Kart levels up. So if you're into that, you should definitely check that out. He erases like nobody else. It's truly, I believe the guy erases more than he does actual drawing. And when I saw that, all of my stress regarding erasing was gone, right? It's a stupid thing that you have in your head. Like, no, you can't do that. All right, so what we have now is, if I were to draw a rectangle, which I absolutely suck at, like this. This is the rectangle in which this face sits. Maybe the hair sticks out a little bit here, the back of the head a little bit. Maybe the tip of the nose, like a millimeter maybe out. But nothing goes beyond these borders. And when you think about that, things become quite easy, because now we can see, okay, how far does the ear go in? It pretty much ends here. And I'm probably sitting way too high, so maybe it ends here. We can take the nose, the triangle of the nose, yeah, the edge, so this edge here, and we can see how far does it stick out compare, or how far does it go into the face compared to this point, so this point. And we can make a little mark there. Let's see. What kind of tape do you use? It's purple masking tape. I will send you the link. Can you send me a message on Instagram? Because I'm gonna say that I send you the link after the live stream, and then it's gonna disappear from my Braino. So if you can send me a reminder, I will send you the link from Gerstecker. Yes, 10 Mario Karts level, absolutely. Stephen Bauman is great. Like, he's intense, but the amount of information you get from that guy in like 2 hours of live streaming is insane. He also has a Patreon, by the way, which is also great if you want to spend some money. All right. Bottom of the nose. And then let's focus a little bit on, it's difficult with my glasses on, this point. Yeah, it's the top of the nose bridge, and it's usually a very easy point to find because there's a little shadow here very often. It's quite subtle, but and then from that, we can sort of guess the eye line. Now, the eye line here, you can also use your pencil for this. It's not parallel to the paper. Yeah, it's tilted a little bit. And you can move your pencil and see, get sort of a sense of the angle. I'm gonna say that maybe it's like this. I'm trying to make thicker lines, but I'm not really great at it. The brow line, maybe a little bit lower. No, it's not. It's not Stefan Baumann. It's Stephen Baumann with one N, and he has glasses on and a beard. I think he's around my age, like kind of average millennial. So the other Stefan Baumann is slightly older. I watched a few videos of him, and you know, he has some interesting stuff to say, but he does it in a way that doesn't really vibe with me. I'm trying to be nice here. All right. I don't have an actual reference photo where I put the rectangle on the face. So I'm just gonna take that off because it's not helping me right now. Yeah, the difference is in the N. Oh Lord, I erased my, all right, my chin. My chin mark. So let's try and find this angle. Yeah, so it's this angle here, which is always difficult in a 3/4 portrait. If you put a mark here, your instincts are going to be to go to that mark, but that mark may not be placed correctly vertically. So try and focus on this angle instead of going towards the mark that may be a little bit off. It's actually kind of well placed, but that was luck rather than skill. Yeah, that's a bit too... All right, let's find the bottom and the top of the ear. And I'm gonna try and do that by seeing if they horizontally align with anything that I've already put down. And you will see that the bottom of the ear will align almost with the bottom of the nose. A little bit lower. It can, you know, there can be a slight difference. Some people wear earrings. Some people have bigger ears. But in general, the bottom of the ear tends to align with the bottom of the nose. Get pencil on my face. And then the top of the ear will usually align somewhat with the eyebrows. Now, the ear is a very convenient facial feature, because it's very rare that you don't see the ear in a portrait unless people cover it with their hair, which is annoying because it's a very easy feature. You can see it from the side, you can see it from the front, you can see it even 3/4 if you turn your face to the back, you can even see it. So that allows you to always have this band that you can measure things with, right? So if I tilt my head like this, that is gonna go like that, right? And it gives you a good indication of the tilt of the head and the rotation of the head, right? Can you see the one eye or not? If the bottom of the ears don't align with the nose, usually the head is tilted a little bit or the camera's tilted. The other thing that is super convenient with the ears is that the jaw is attached to the ears. Everybody always struggles with the jaw, including me. It's a really long distance to go, right? When you consider all these little tiny details. But the jaw is always, it's not like technically attached to your ear, of course, but the jaw bone ends, the joint sits, you can try it and open your, yeah, you can feel that bump right here. That's where it sits. And then you have the ear on top of it. So the earlobe goes into this line here of the jaw, and that gives you a really good like starting point, right? Especially when you took some time to position this ear compared to this boundary or compared to that boundary. That stops you from making the jaw too short and the whole face too compressed. Yeah. Right, this looks half decent. Out here, and this is part of the 3/4 composition, sits part of the bottom, basically this, right? So instead of, I know some people have that, don't have that, I get that, but we do, right? So the jawbone goes like that, and I don't know what this is for, goes downwards a little bit. All right. So this goes inwards to the eye. Then there's a little straight line, if you will. And then it goes outwards a little bit. Not too much. This is an area, this is an area that I struggle with, a lot of people struggle with, and Stephen Bauman, can you tell I'm a fan, calls it over-modeling, which I think is a great thing. It's one of those things that clicked with me, like, why is my shit looking so stupid? I thought I have the angles right, but what you're doing is you see angles, and your brain is like, oh yeah, let's go to the left, let's go to the right, let's make an angle, woo! And it looks way too out of proportion. So sometimes things look angled because other things are angled, and they're not really angled, they're actually quite straight. So getting a grip on that thing that he calls over modeling made a real difference to my drawing. All right, let's take this out. I'm not really sure how far yet. All right, let's do the nose before we continue with who is here? Hi, Misty. Is he an oil paint? Yeah, he also does oil paint. He has an Instagram. He does oil paint and graphite drawings. I love that you're doing this in-depth drawing. All right, let's go. Let's keep going. Let's do the nose. So the nose is two triangles. It's like a wedge, right? We tend to forget that the top of the nose is a flat plane, all right? So even though you can draw a nose like this, as a triangle, but when you put it on a face, unless you're facing the nose from the side, like the absolute side, right? In that case, you're only seeing the side plane of the nose. But in a 3/4 view, you have this bridge here. Yeah. So, all right, we have the eye line. We can go a little bit inwards. I'm gonna say it starts here. Let's see if we can. This is the bottom, right? So the tip goes up a little bit. That always messes me up a bit. Let's go to here. I think that's okay. This is oil paint paper and it's really shitty to draw on. Sorry, I'm just gonna block your view. And then in and that way. Right, I feel like it's not perfect, but yeah, let's run with it for a little bit. All right, let's put in a little indication for the mouth. So if you ever study the Loomis model, the Loomis model will tell you that the mouth sits approximately at 1/3 from the top of this area. Yeah, bottom of the chin, bottom of the nose, and then 1/3 down. Then we also have, and this is a little bit, I'm not supposed to yet, but there is a line that I find really convenient when people have, it's not that obvious, is this one. Because it sort of separates this whole area from this area, and it makes it very clear where you're at. So, all right. Yeah, all right. Let's do hairline a little bit. I think part we can kind of guesstimate if we want. I think I'm gonna have to make some corrections at some point. The hairline does this because the shape of your skull basically changes. Right? So that determines your hairline, the shape of your hairline. Let me see if I can switch reference photos, because I have a photo here that has a bunch of lines on top of the photo. That may be helpful. There we go. Let's go. So the photo I just loaded I obviously did that on my computer. I'm not really great at drawing straight lines on my computer, so I usually just get the pen tool or something. So you can see that they're all straight lines. Drawing in straight lines. Practicing drawing in straight lines is probably the best thing that I've ever done for myself, is to draw everything in straight lines. It's probably one of those things that you learn on day one when you do like an art school program. I had no clue, but when I learned that straight lines are pretty much the way to go until like 80% of your drawing, I was like, that would have been great to know, because that really helps. Like, and curved lines are insanely difficult to draw because you're not only dealing with distance and starting and ending point, but you're dealing with curvature, which is ridiculously difficult to get right. And so you mess everything up, right? The things we do to be an artist when we grow up. All right. I loaded that image because I put in, with great effort on my computer, because it really is crappy, some lines inside the face, right? Because we kind of have the outer boundaries. You know, and we can recheck them if we want, if they're still good. Kind of. Yep. So maybe move that one up a little bit. No, I said up. All right. The inner structure of the face, I find it difficult to simplify, right? And I think last week we kind of talked about how a posterized image is more of a guideline to the way that gradients behave, the way that transitions and shadows behave, etc., etc. But it doesn't really narrow down the planes of the face, because a posterized image is only focused on value, right? Like Ariana, I think, said, it's more like a depth map than anything else. So it ignores the bone structure of your face. And one of the most important plane changes, I think, especially in anything that isn't a front-faced portrait, is this angle here. And you look at the photo, you think there's so much information going on there, and it's a little bit difficult to accept that this line is what you start with. Like, it creeps me out a little bit. I'm thinking, am I not ignoring a bunch of information? Well, what it basically is, it's the separation between the front plane of your face and the side plane of your face. And stuff like this blew my mind, because in my mind, the face, the human head, had no front, side, and back, because we learned, and I think it's natural for a human being, to simplify the human head as a circle and not as essentially a square or a rectangle. But when you look at a photo like this, you can see why it resembles a rectangle more than it does just a circle, because the front of the face is lit and the side of the face is not, right? Yeah, that blew my mind. I just love having my mind blown like that. All right, then we have, let's go into the forehead again, right? 1, 2. This is where the hairline basically gets its shape from, right? So we have value 1, value 2, value 3. if you do 3 values. By this angle and the nose, we kind of, sort of, if we put a little line here, indicated the eye socket, the part of the eye socket that is visible, right? It's this area. We can do the same thing here, but we're gonna do a little bit more work there. So the top, it stops here, you can see it in the image. And then the side, yeah, so that is this area. Sort of ends here. Then there is a ridge here, not a ridge, but a light area. Yeah, it's, what do you call it? Bone. What's it called? I'm gonna wait for you guys to put it in the chat. This one, where you put your blush on. This one sticks out because that's what bones do, right? The eye socket sits deeper. Underneath here, you can press this area where you go into the mouth. So you go from bone to flesh to bone. And that creates a value hierarchy. So that is this little area. Oh, that's not the right angle, I think. And then here, I think stuff like this is pretty easy. If you practice it a bunch of times, you get kind of a sense of where all these points are. So now we have cheekbone, yes, thank you. Now we have 2 eye sockets. And just like when you narrow down the negative space around the head, when you narrow down the space in which you're going to work, it becomes easier, right? And we talked, I think, maybe 2 weeks ago, I can't remember, about wanting to go into detail too fast. And the issue with that, and I started like that, I started drawing like that. Like, there was no library book that taught you all of this first, and then, or maybe I picked the wrong books, probably. But I started with the eyes, and I worked all kinds of detail in it, and then I went to the nose or whatever, and at the end, everything was kind of okay, but always a little bit misaligned. But because you already put in all that detail, you were like, no, I'm not going to erase that. Are you nuts? So that's the problem, basically, for me with going into detail. So now we spend 45 minutes. I understand I'm not the fastest, but we spent 45 minutes and we haven't drawn an eye. We can try and put some marks in, though, for the eye. We can definitely do that. So, top. Kind of like bottom. Maybe here. There's always an eyelid. They don't always show, but they show a little bit here. Cool. And I'm based off this line. We can position the eye. Maybe get all right. So we have about 10 minutes to go. I'm curious though, like, what is your number one issue with painting or drawing portraits? Like, I'm curious what you run into. And also how you solve it, like how you deal with it. Difficult time with noses. Yes, I get that. For me it's the angles. Yeah, for me it's the angles as well. Not good at sketching in general yet, and I struggle with mixing values. Cool. Going too soon to details, eyes mainly. Working on boundaries, yeah. Right eye starts too high. Taking a photo. Yeah, also, like taking a photo and then flipping it horizontally is way too confronting certain days of the month. Yeah, I did that with stuff, and the errors that you see then, like, so I wish I didn't see them sometimes. But that is a great way too. So take a photo and flip it. Some people do a mirror, but you know, it's not 1980 anymore, so we can just flip the photo. Let's see if we can finish up a little bit of Alright, that's not half bad. Never flip the photo at your own risk, alright? I have a mirror behind paintings. Oh, that's... Oh. Mirrors creep me out, so no, that's a no for me. I think this is good for an hour. You can tell this is slow going stuff. You know, working off posterized photos is fun and I can do it relatively quickly. But actually doing this kind of structural work takes time, and that sometimes frustrates me, right? So I just want to do one thing, and that is take this area here, because, you know, we were talking about values at some point. Sorry if this makes a lot of noise. And so here we have this neck area. And this is part of the neck. Like, this is not where the neck ends. Hey, Kosha. So let's take this out a little bit. If we were to do two values, which is interesting. Gonna leave the hair alone because it's gonna make a lot of noise. But if we had to do two values, this would be the front of the face, and these two planes, this whole area from here to here to here, including the ear, would be in the shadow. With oil paint, you don't usually say, okay, let's put dark paint down here and light paint here and then work into it, because you're gonna make a mess. But with graphite, this is how I worked for a little while. Because with graphite, you layer and then you layer. So you go from value 10 white of your paper, and you go to value 9, which is light gray, and so you build up until you reach this. I'm just doing sloppy work. So when you start with a face, anything that isn't value 10 or 9 is gonna get a layer of graphite. And then you continue. So if you have two values, this is how you would end up with graphite. And this is basically the simplest division of values that you can make right now with only two. So two values and some line. I'm gonna see if I can fixate this and then run some oil paint over it next week. Let's read the chat. Thank you for the inspiration. I didn't draw long. Scooped up all this productive energy. Prepped 3 panels. Let's go. Nice. Necks are difficult. Yes, necks are difficult. I may as well mention the whole phase. Like, we just decided that art is just basically wrestling yourself through a bunch of mind fuckery. So art is difficult, but yeah, we love it. So let's go, right? I'll just erase an outline when I really want to get onto. Oh, you erased an outline. Ariane is being naughty. Trace, yes, trace and trace an outline. Yeah. I think I'm gonna put, like, usually I stain my paintings with raw umber, so I will do that probably the Tuesday before next week's live stream, so that it's dry. I will put some raw umber here. I'm gonna have to look up if I can just fixate this and run the oil paint over it. I'll make a little reel of it. Sorry, that's like I'll be right back. I moved the litter tray, the litter thingy for the cat because we did stuff in the kitchen and now it's super loud. So yeah, I will make a little reel or something, put it on Instagram, but it's nothing, it's not rocket science or anything. And then we can start painting next week. You crack me up. You're welcome. I'm welcome to crack you up. Happy to. All right. I'm tired. Like this, this stuff wears me out. I very much, though, enjoyed this. And can I cut back to my face? I'm so tech savvy. It's insane. I enjoyed this, but I have to say it wears me out. Like, it's a lot of stuff, and it's a different way of working. So yeah, I hope, like, I'm not here to be technically accurate or tell you all the things that you need to do. I'm just kind of here to show you that it's, you know, sometimes I struggle, you struggle, and we struggle together, and that makes it better. Thank you for being here in the chat. Thank you for watching. I will keep you updated on my fixative adventures on Instagram, and I will see you next week in the live stream, and we're gonna go back to doing a little bit of painting. All right, bye-bye.